productive and busy day.
Yeah, that it has.
Yeah. All right. Well, today, what are we reading?
We are reading the latest TikTok sensation, Divine Rivals.
Oh, yes. I love this one so much.
Yeah? What did you think of it? What was your rating for it?
I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I loved this book. What did you rate it?
I gave it a 4. I did really like it, but I think I've had other reads that I thought were better recently, and so, or just, I shouldn't say better, that matched the type of read I like more, maybe. It's a better way to put it.
I can see, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah, I had no idea what it was. I think we talked about this before, but we both tend to go in, like, pretty blind into books, so I just kept seeing, like, the title being like, oh, this is the new Fourth Wing. Yeah. I was like, okay, purchase.
Same. I literally thought the same exact thing. Yeah. Yes, so I also had seen it all over TikTok and Instagram, and I was noticing that people were saying this is Fourth Wing, this is ACOTAR. I didn't get those vibes at all.
No, I think it was a really different type of story than that. Yeah. It reminded me more of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Yes. That's what it really reminded me of. I thought it was like very much in the same plane of fantasy as that.
I see that 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'll read the synopsis on what the book is about for a spoiler-free portion. So the description is, after centuries of sleep, the gods are warring again. But 18-year-old Iris Winnow just wants to hold her family together. Her mother is suffering from addiction, and her brother is missing from the front lines. Her best bet is to win the columnist promotion at the Oath Gazette. To combat her worries, Iris writes letters to her brother and then slips them beneath her wardrobe door, where they vanish into the hands of Roman Kit, her cold and handsome rival at the paper. When he anonymously writes Iris back, the two of them forge a connection that will follow Iris all the way to the front lines of the battle, for her brother, the fate of mankind, and love. Divine Rivals is an epic enemies to lovers fantasy novel filled with hope and heartbreak and the unparalleled power of love. All right. Before we get into the spoiler portion, just a little call to action to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Miss Willa's Book Club Pod. Watch our full episodes on YouTube. All of our links in our link tree in our bio.
Nice. Nice. So from that description, did you really consider this enemies to lovers?
No. I considered this like rivals to lovers.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I thought it was more rivals to lovers than it was enemies to lovers, which, I mean, I guess maybe a subsection of that. But when I think rivals, when I think enemies, I think more like true enemies. Yes. Not just like office place coworkers. Exactly.
Well, and then I clearly didn't read like the synopsis on the beginning of the book because one of the first notes that I had was, I'm sorry, this isn't Forrest. Who is it? Who's on the other side of the typewriter? I was so confused.
Oh, you didn't guess that?
No, but like I said, I like don't try to make predictions while I read.
Oh, I'm so prone to that. That was definitely one that like the second there was someone else, and because they had been playing up him as a character, I don't know. Wait, we're talking about spoilers already, though.
Get into spoilers of the book. I did not consider this, like... I also, like, I knew they were office, like, rivals, but, like, he was so nice to her. Yeah. She was the one that was kind of a bitch.
Well, I mean, I think that was probably true at this point in the story, but... There were some comments that I think both of them made about how he treated her when she first started the job, and that maybe there was less respect for her then until he like saw her writing and then was like, oh crap, like you actually earned this, you deserve to be here. And so I could imagine that maybe he was not the nicest back in the day.
I guess I can kind of see it too. Mm-hmm. I just remember thinking like, wow, he's being so nice to her. Like, why is she being so like curt? Like, she's not like even giving him like a second of the day. Yeah.
I thought the little like picking at each other, like just messing with each other, like turning his books backwards, and was so funny because I feel like that's my husband and my relationship too, that we like pick at each other but in a playful way like that, you know? Absolutely. Like it's nothing is actually mean things. It's just like funny little poking.
Yeah, it's just like you make fun of them because you love them.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I didn't feel like she was getting that same vibe, though, from him.
Yeah, maybe not. She was maybe being a little more sensitive to it.
Mm-hmm. I thought so, too.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, she had a lot of other stuff going on. I think that was also like a good reminder, you know, sometimes there's other things going on in your life that make you act differently towards people, and it's like not necessarily their fault or anything they can do about it. Because like when she was grieving her mother passing and having like a really complicated relationship with probably like the feeling of her mom not being there.
Well, because her mom was kind of absent, but then like she kind of had her schedule like down pat, and like that was the scene where she realized that her mom wasn't coming home.
That was I was literally tears running down my face. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was sobbing. Like it was really emotional. Yeah.
That was probably one of the most emotional parts of the book for me. What was your favorite part of the book?
Come back to me. No, I marked a couple. I marked a couple pieces.
You marked a couple?
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of the book, and it's not like a scene that happened, it was more kind of like an aspect of the book that I really liked, was that like he kept trying to get her to talk about her feelings and to talk about things even though she has no idea that it was him. And so I thought like the fact that he kept trying, I just thought that that was like pretty admirable about him, because he knew that if he told her who he was if he told her who he was, that she probably would close up and wouldn't talk to him about it anymore.
She wouldn't talk to Carver about it anymore once she knew that it was him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember my favorite scene, which reminded me, you haven't read The Love Hypothesis, right?
No, I haven't read that one yet.
Okay, well, I don't think it's really a spoiler. There's just the scene where they're headed out to the like active war area, and they're taking like the car or whatever vehicle out there, and she has to sit on his lap.
Oh,
that scene.
I love that.
And she's like trying to sit up all tall, but then she's like, okay, well, I'm uncomfortable, so I'm gonna sit back. Mm-hmm. That scene I thought was so cute, because there's a couple books, and Love Hypothesis is one of them, that has like there's nowhere else to sit except for your lap kind of scene, and I just think it's so cute.
I think if we were to consider that a trope, I think that would be one of my favorite tropes.
It's so cute.
But because we could also relate to it so well, so like one of my other favorite tropes is at the inn. So like there's only one bed at the inn.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like this one's really relatable because this has potentially happened in the past, and so it's like, oh, I know how she's feeling.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, I think everybody's been a teen trying to cram too many people in a car and had to sit on somebody's lap.
I love it. Even though they were a little bit older, they were out of high school. I felt like
she said that she quit high school. Yeah. Like the year before or within that year, so that made me think she was like 17, 18.
I think she was 18, he was 19.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they seemed a lot younger.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also thought they felt like, I think there's a lot of YA that's written, and I'm like, oh, you seem so much older. Like, I age you up. Agreed. If anything, I almost felt like I aged them down in this. Like, I thought they were more like 15, 16 is how their relationship felt. Yeah. Just because it was like so like naive and innocent. I don't know. Which is
us too.
Yeah. Our drink for the evening, although we normally have wine or bourbon or another alcoholic themed drink, his characters were just so naive.
So
I
young.
just couldn't bring myself to be inspired to drink alcohol. So instead we're having sparkling lemonade.
I know. I feel like I'm also still feeling the effects from this weekend. So I was like, yeah, no, let's do some like something that's gonna make us feel good.
Yeah, I'm glad you're good with that.
I love it.
Doesn't always have to be wine.
I know. Plus it's light and refreshing. And it was so hot today. It has just been so damn hot here in Denver, so finally. I was very excited to have something refreshing. Yeah. Were there any parts that stick out in your mind that you really did not like about this book?
I don't want to say really did not like, but maybe liked less. It gave very purity culture vibes. I don't know if you got that, but just in the fact that it was clear that for them to feel comfortable, like, having any physical intimacy with each other, even if it was going to be their last night on Earth, even if they were going to die the next day, they were like, well, we have to get married first. We have to get married for this to happen. And I mean, I think it probably was supposed to come off more as, like, life is short, we care about each other, let's just, like, why not make a big life decision in a moment? And so I think maybe that's how it was supposed to feel, but it came off more as purity culture to me, of like, oh, well, we can't have sex until we're married.
I know. Well, we even have the aspect of, like, his family was, like, marrying him off to somebody else.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the arranged marriage with the other girl who also didn't want it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that she was with a woman?
Oh, you think that's, like, the lover that she was talking about?
I thought so. I don't
could
even
get that
remember
vibe, sure.
Yeah, I don't remember what was said, but there was something about it, which I love that there's that representation in here too, because we also get that with the innkeeper that was there.
Uh-huh.
And so I love that that was represented, but I definitely had that, like, oh, I wonder, because I think maybe she said something like, "You're not really my type."
Oh, yeah, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could see that for sure.
Because
the way that she so clearly dismissed him in, like, such a firm way, I could definitely see that being like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
We'll do our duty and that's it.
I love it. Yeah, I love it when that's represented, though, too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Dang.
What about you? Were there any parts that you didn't love?
I think we've already kind of talked about the naivety a little bit. I think that these characters just seemed, like, really young. But I think the fact that he was going to, how many times throughout this book, tell her who he was, and then he didn't. I think that, to me, was like, oh, yeah, I get it. Like, we're going to keep this suspense rolling. But I didn't think that it wasn't my favorite part, for sure.
Well, especially, I felt like when he showed up overseas and then didn't even tell her then. Yeah. That was when I was like, okay. I mean, when they were just messaging on the typewriter, like fine, okay, I can see that. But I think once he showed up, I was expecting more of, like, a third act breakup kind of vibe of, like, oh,
I was too.
Then during part of that, they would, she'd be pissed and then come back.
Yeah, I was absolutely thinking that too. I was not expecting a marriage instead.
Yeah, it was an interesting flow. I think I liked the first half of the book better, which is unusual for me.
It is unusual for you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the second half was more action-packed.
Yeah, and I know that normally you're like, oh, I'm the one about character growth and I'm the one who wants the plot. But I can like books that are, like, I felt like it really pulled at your emotions in the first half. And I didn't dislike it. I mean, I still thought it was a really nice book. It's just definitely not the type of style that I read very often. Yeah. I don't tend to go for
I feel like
really
this was
emotional
more,
books.
And this was more romantasy, less fantasy romance.
Yeah, that's true too.
I wasn't expecting this to be as emotional as it was.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I really think it super reminded me of Addie LaRue, which is funny because I think I maybe gave that one 3 stars. Yeah. I didn't love that one either.
And I remember after I finished that, I was like, oh my gosh, sobbing. I love that book.
Yeah, so I think it's just like a style of like preference too. Yeah, but I mean, I liked it. I was underwhelmed by the world building though, and I understand that this was supposed to be like maybe romance first, and that's fine, but they like bring up in the beginning that there are these gods and they were buried and they were put away and they've come back. And then they kind of just don't say anything about the gods for like 150 pages.
Right, okay.
Besides that they're behind the war.
Yes. So I kind of liked that.
Yeah?
Because, well, I was expecting this to be more fantasy and it wasn't. And so I was a little disappointed. But then I started thinking about the writing style, and I loved that we were getting those bits and pieces from Roman, because now when they're in this, like, their time frame that they're in, they're not allowed to talk about it. In this city that they're in, they are not allowed to talk about the gods and the war and everything, which is why at the newspaper they can't talk about it. And so Roman's getting all this information from his grandmother, and he's like slipping bits and pieces, and then they see like on the front lines that like all of this is actually happening. I actually thought that was a really cool way of world building.
Yeah.
Even though I was expecting it to be like a more hands-on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that it came out that way. It just then felt insignificant. Like it felt like it didn't matter. Like it didn't matter if it was gods or if it was just a regular war or something.
Yeah.
I think that was more it then. Then I was like, well, why have there be gods if they aren't doing anything? And I mean, I guess then like the very last 5 pages, you know, kind of gives you that fantasy element. But I think that then that felt more out of place to me, which is why I say I like the first half better, because if it would have all continued maybe on like the same level of depth of like this is in the background, but we're not going to talk about it. That's okay. But it at the end felt so random to me. I mean, not random, but like
kind of out of left field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since I did not know this was a series.
Oh yeah. Honestly though, knowing that like we were left on a cliffhanger, and I think I'm very glad that there's a couple more books coming out, because I'm like, maybe the gods are going to have more hands-on, because it seems like it probably will.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious, I guess, maybe the direction. I have no idea the direction that the book will go now.
Me neither. Me neither. Do we want to try to talk about some predictions?
Yeah, why don't you start us off?
Well, first off, did you, when they were in the alley and she was grabbed, did you think that was Roman, or did you think that was her brother? Did you? So when
the gas is going off?
Yes.
I thought it was her brother right away.
You knew it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I was
called that
so
right away.
shocked.
No, when there was the mask on, when he was wearing a mask, and she was just like, oh, I see this jumpsuit, it's Roman. I was like, no, it's not. Because they had just talked about that one of Roman's jumpsuits had gone missing from the room, and they had talked about the footprints in the... So I was like waiting for someone else to come through. And even in that part, the first time that we saw, when she was like, I feel someone watching me in the garden when they were making out and stuff, I thought it was her brother.
I knew it was somebody, but it being her brother, I was...
You were surprised?
Yeah, I was surprised. But they had also said that he hadn't been seen for a long time. So, like, after they said it, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, like, I'm putting all the pieces together. But again, when I'm reading, I don't make predictions.
You're more in the moment.
So, I love it, though, because I feel like I do get that shock factor all the time.
Yeah.
And so, like, when the typewriter wasn't Roman, I was like, or wasn't her brother, I was like, oh, my God. And I was like, is this going to be a paranormal romance? Like, I thought it was going to be something
my God. Just a totally different direction.
I know.
It could have been, though. It could have.
I mean, that would have been in the realm of fantasy. Yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome.
It was a good surprise, though.
That's so fun. I guess I don't know why I felt like both those predictions were like really, like they were such at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah.
It like wasn't even a question.
Like you already knew.
It was more like a confirmation than when I saw it. I was like, yes, it was right. Which was probably why I say this was more of a 4 for me too, because I mean, there are plenty of books that do surprise me, but this was, I thought, pretty predictable.
Yeah.
I mean, besides maybe the very, very last bit of the like dropping through the circle into the underworld or something. I don't know.
Which she had also put that earlier too, and she was like, oh, now we're standing in the circle where Roman was, and he's not here. And I was like, oh. So I guess going back to the predictions now, we know nothing about what her brother is like now that he is out of the grasps of the god.
Yeah, well, and they only gave us like little bits of what that meant to be in the grasp of the god, so I got the understanding there must be some type of mind control or something.
That's what I'm thinking
from
too.
that god of like the people that he selects as worthy of the mind control.
Right, I know, and so I'm really curious to see what happens with Roman, because I'm like, okay, like they're married, they're clearly in love, he's been in love with her literally forever, so like now is he not going to be able to like control his feelings, and now like I'm just so curious to see what's going to happen with that. Looks
they're going to be like fighting on opposite sides of the war basically.
Yeah, well, and then if that's still going to be like in play with her brother, he's like, is he gonna have to go back and fight on the other side of the war, or
he made it sound like he was able to break out of it because of her or something that she had done though.
And then he was so mean to her.
Yeah, It was pretty, but that's why I'm like, I feel like there must be like leftover effects from being under the control of that god.
Yeah.
Then maybe he's like still kind of having to fight off that it, changed his personality. But also, people who go to war don't come back the same.
Oh, absolutely.
So it could genuinely be him. He's just changed that much from the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point in time, I do not like the brother in the slightest.
No.
Yeah. And now she, like, I was surprised she went as easily as she did.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, again,
After
very
not
naive.
after not hearing from him forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really strange. But.
Talk about trauma bonding, though, like the whole book.
Yeah, for real.
I feel like that was, like, all of the relationships. It was just, like, a lot of trauma bonding, for sure.
Well, I liked the way that she explained, like, the sirens and everything. I thought that she had, great imagery. I loved the way that she did that. But kind of like you were saying earlier with some, like, the other world building, like, I hope we learn more about the gods. I hope we learn, like, is there only 2? Is there...
Have more woken up, because there were 5 left, I thought. And 2 of them have woken up.
I forgot that.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Well, and I think I might have been more than that, because I marked that from the beginning. And it said, once there had been 100 gods between the 2 families, their individual powers spanning the blah, 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 blah. Over time, they killed each other one by one until only 5 remained. And those 5 had been overcome by humankind and given as spoils to the boroughs of Cambria. And so they were buried in different areas, never to wake from their enchanted sleep. Yeah. And then it says, they were rumored to be places of great enchantment, drawing the ill, the faithful, and the curious, which made me wonder if maybe that was a little bit of a prediction, if, like, how, because they haven't talked about how they freed themselves, and so it makes me wonder if maybe there was, like, a mortal that came looking for something from those places and accidentally freed them.
Oh, that's a really good prediction. That would be really interesting. I know, I feel like she could go so many different directions with this book,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I was having a hard time when I finished it being like, well, what's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I just was really thrown off by the, like, how the book ended.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm really not sure. I don't know. I think it's just, like, I look back on it, and minus that ending, I feel like you could have rewritten it as, like, Cold War era or something. You know what I mean? Like, like, the sirens are watching out for just bombs or something, and, like, that type of war tension, and completely ignored the fantasy aspect of it, and I don't think it would have changed the story at all.
Agreed, yeah. I know, I felt like this could have, like, the fantasy element could have just been taken out. It could have just been a really sweet love story.
Yeah.
With, like magical typewriters.
Yeah, it reminded me more of, like, a historical romance than it did
me too.
Like, fantasy romance.
Absolutely. Especially with all the wartime and everything, I feel like that's, like, a prime time for it.
Yeah.
What did you think about him making her run with him?
It reminded me of, oh gosh, I feel like I can't say I feel like I can't say anything for other books without them maybe being spoilers, but there are other books that I've seen that also of, like, the guy making the girl work out.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that you've read one of them with multiple partners. One. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I always think that's cute. I think the training scenes are always kind of cute.
Me too.
So yeah, I thought that was sweet. I was kind of surprised she signed up for it, though, to be honest.
I was too, because she was extremely against it at first, and then she was like, okay, fine, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like he did a really good job of encouraging her.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want you to do it because I want you to get strong, because I want you to survive.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like, oh.
Yeah. What did you think of him going to protect her when the shrapnel was going off from the grenade? That whole scene in the trench was so intense. And I think that's why I gave it a 4, even though I feel like what I've been saying has sounded pretty negative in this. And I don't mean it, because a lot of it was really good. And, like, the imagery and the emotions and, like, the fear and stuff, I feel like you really felt that reading it. And especially that scene in the trenches was wild.
Her imagery throughout the whole book was fantastic, but that scene specifically was so crazy to me. And then they get separated, and then I was like, oh my God, like, I was on the edge of my seat. I read the book in, like, 24 hours, but I stayed up until, like, 2 o'clock in the morning finishing the book because I think it was when they had like gone to the front lines. I couldn't stop. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
And I love a book that's going to do that. But I love movies and books that are going to invoke emotion like that.
Yeah.
And so like
definitely.
a book that can make me cry is like 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it was.
Automatically.
I mean, because I don't feel like I really like genuinely have tears rolling down my face with that many books, but this and have you read the Ravenhood series yet? Starts with Flock.
I'm reading it right now.
You're reading Flock right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hope you have a whole box of tissues ready.
Really? I thought it was a different kind of a book.
I'm not going to say anything more than that.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well,
That's still to this day, I'm not even going to tell you where it is in that series, but I've like never hysterically sobbed so much at a book. It's so emotional.
what did I get myself into? I mean, oh my gosh. Okay.
I mean, it's phenomenal. It's so, and you know me, I'm like, don't know. That's
you don't
not a
say
book.
Books are phenomenal very often,
Well,
I feel like.
yeah, probably that too.
No.
but it's more that I don't gravitate towards like super emotional books or contemporary romance very often.
I don't gravitate at all anymore to contemporary romance.
But that series is really good.
Oh my gosh.
Very emotional.
Well, I am so excited to continue reading.
I didn't expect any of the directions that series took.
I love it. I love it when a good series can do. Although sometimes, like when we finish this one, I'm like, part of me is like, oh, it's a good thing I'm wondering what's going to happen next. But part of me is like, there's so much that could happen that I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I will read it when it comes out, but I probably won't. It's not the type of sequel that I probably will read the day that it comes out. Like there's some that it's like, oh my God, I'm running to Barnes & Noble. I can't wait to start it. I have to have it right now, the very first day. And this, I like don't even know if I pre-order the second one. Like I'm sure I'll read it at some point, but I don't think that I will like change up the order of other books on my TBR that I want to read to fit it in. That's how I'm feeling about it. What about you?
So then why do you think people are raving so highly about this book? Because I love this book, but now as we're talking about it...
I'm changing your mind.
Kind of. Because I'm like, I really, really enjoyed reading it. Yeah. But now I'm like, it wasn't the best written book. And... I
thought it was really nice. I really think it's the same reason why a lot of people love Addie LaRue and I didn't. I think it's just a preference of like stories that you...
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Feel more.
I guess what I mean by when I say it's not the best written, because I liked the style. What I didn't love is you were left being like, where's more? Where's more?
Yeah, I needed a little bit more, I think, to happen. And we talked about this recently in Restore Me also in that episode, so this isn't a spoiler for that or anything if you haven't read the Shatter Me series, but I felt that way about the fourth book, Restore Me, that there was just like not quite enough happened for too long, and it had me like twiddling my thumbs just a little bit. But the difference is the emotion really had me here, so I still thought it was like a really nice story.
Yeah.
I just felt like those other pieces were like random.
Right. I agree. So I hope it either dies back down in the next book or they really make it like a strong
prominent
point. Yeah.
Which way do you think it'll go?
I think it'll become more prominent. I think maybe this book was meant to be more of like a teaser into it.
Yeah.
And that we'll really learn more about like the dynamic between them and what it means to be like entailed by the god and what the scars mean and but yeah I feel like this is hard because I loved reading this book, but I'm like, I don't really have a whole lot of like
things
discussion points for it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like a lot of it was just really emotional. Yeah. And I'm like not even really sure what to say about that besides that I think it mimicked really well grief, and I have to imagine like the stress of being near war, even if you're like trying not to participate in it.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're supposed to be independent parties, but like they're still dealing with all of the same like safety concerns and stuff, and that really is a pretty I don't know that I had ever thought about that before, about
I don't think I
reporters
had
that
either.
were over there doing that.
Me neither. Yeah. So maybe 5 out of 5 for invoking emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5 for me. Yeah, I still thought it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I would still definitely recommend it to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would recommend it to certain types of people.
You're right. Absolutely. Like, I don't think this isn't our normal type of book, and I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, well, that's what we both got for going in blind.
I know. This is so true. Literally, so before we started, and I opened up and I looked at it, and I was like, huh.
I literally didn't even look at the cover. I just started reading it.
Oh, really?
I'm not kidding. I literally did not read or hear a single word about what this book was about.
Me neither.
I just flipped to the first page and started reading.
Me too. And it clearly says in the synopsis that Roman Kit was receiving the letters, and I was so shocked. I was literally so
I told
shocked.
you I saw that coming from the beginning.
You did.
I think if it's in the inside cover, then it must have been supposed to be Abby.
I know. Which is good, because I guess it was. Oh my gosh.
That's okay. I love that you get to so blindly enjoy books too, because I think that's a really fun way to be able to enjoy stories.
I think so too, and I think that I just continue to do it because of some other series where I was extremely surprised, and then I just loved it so much. So yeah, I think that's a good thing. It's just,
definitely.
Yeah, I'm not very good at predicting what's going to happen.
Fine.
Well,
that's
Divine Rivals.
Yeah, that's Divine Rivals. Thanks for joining us tonight, and hopefully we'll see you around for our next episode.
Yeah, we'll see you guys soon.